Hello everyone, Paizen here, and I'm going to be giving my thoughts and impressions on this new series here, Candy Flurry, that started a couple months back this year. Um, the story is by Ippon Takeguchi, and the art is by Santa Mitarashi. So as you can see from this color spread in the beginning of the first chapter, yes, it is pretty much about all about candy. The premise is that there's Tokyo and it's all about sweets. So there was a company that started selling these special sweets or candies that, when eaten, they actually gave people specific candy powers that all revolve around candy. So as you see here, this is the main girl, Sumugi, and she ate one of the candies, and it's able to let her use the powers of a lollipop, which is basically just like a gigantic lollipop hammer. um, and she's fighting someone that ate one of the candies too, and it's like donut powers. So that's pretty much the basics of the story. Also, she's in hiding because I think it was 5 years prior to the current events right now. Tokyo had been decimated by a supposed lollipop user, but the story tells us it's not hers that did this, and she wants to prove her innocence. So but she wants to prove her innocence, but she can't because she can't do anything about it because she's in hiding. So then there's also this organization. It's like a special task force called the Reset that specialize in apprehending and dealing with these candy users. Funniest thing is they use like the tackiest weaponry. Um, the tackiest weaponry like this. Here's the main male character, Misaki. He's part of the reset, and he uses it. Yeah, this is the kind of weapons that they use. Giant forks, spoons as like weapons. It's so silly. It looks tacky. Some of them actually use special candy powers too, but that isn't revealed until a little later. But you have her, like I said, trying to prove her innocence, and he finds out that she is a lollipop user and tries to detain her, but after explanation, he somewhat believes that she isn't the culprit, and the story goes on from there, and the two of them try to find the real culprit who did that to Tokyo. Um, to be honest, I'm not that interested in this. I don't know, like, it's already been 10 chapters. This 10th chapter released a couple hours earlier before I recorded this, and even by then, I'm still not that impressed. The only interesting thing, to be honest, about this is the candy powers that they introduce. Like, there's donut powers, powers rubbing macaroons, popcorn, ice cream, gum. All those have already been shown off, and of course, her lollipop. It's like I'm just at this point I'm just sticking around just to see what kind of candy powers they keep introducing, but the story itself is pretty mediocre and not interesting. And that's all due to the characters. Like this guy, he is insufferably useless. Like he does nothing but just like whine and be flung around, and the main girl just always stomping on his confidence and pretty much bullying him. He doesn't do much. And the girl herself is pretty annoying too. They're not really like they're kind of a pretty lame duo in this magazine, to be honest. Not that interesting. The art itself, the art by Santa, doesn't look that great either. I'm not that big of a fan of their facial structures, this guy's facial structures. Um, it just doesn't look that good, or doesn't look that interesting to look at, you know? Um, Plus, this series has a very big comedic undertone, so it doesn't really stick well with the action. It feels like they put more emphasis on the comedy than the action, which is not always a great thing. It can be a great thing. One example is Gintama. That's always been a comedic series, but it has some fighting too, and it works very well. But in this case, it just doesn't. It just feels tacky and off-putting. Um, I talked about the art. The story's kind of lackluster. It hasn't really gone much of anywhere. Oh, and pretty much one of the other things is that if she wants to find this lollipop user who destroyed Tokyo, of course, what better place to go than the agency itself, Reset, to have more resources to find them. Of course, they have to do some kind of exam fight type thing. You know how battle shonens are. So early in the series, it's like it's throwing too many tropes in at once, and it's kind of annoying. Um, oh, and don't get me started on the lollipop user that's responsible. So when I first started reading this, I didn't really think it'd go much of anywhere, to be honest. I like, this doesn't really seem that interesting. People are gonna lose interest quick, and I don't know. People are gonna lose interest quick, and it's probably gonna get axed. I still kind of believe that 10 weeks later, since starting this, and even more so that they just revealed, like it's only been 10 chapters. And the big bad, the one that's responsible for the Tokyo's destruction, just got revealed today already. I'm gonna go ahead and show spoilers if that's okay with y'all. But yeah, pretty much the big bad is already mentioned. Oh, he's probably a part of an organization. Um, yeah, there he is. So this is the supposed guy who destroyed Tokyo all those years ago. And they've revealed him. It's only been 10 chapters. He's a part of an organization apparently, and he has a couple of groups of bad people along. So of course they're gonna have to fight all these guys. So I think this is way too early to introduce this big bad organization with the main bad guy presumably, because they just did the exam kind of for her to join. She just barely joined the reset. They're just barely introducing characters from the reset, building the world, and they just only introduce a couple of powers. I don't know. The pacing of this seems wonky, too fast. Kind of seems like the author and the artist just kind of want to finish this way too quickly. But to be honest, it's kind of makes sense because they probably have noticed that not that many people are really into this. There's support on this online, don't get me wrong. People like it. That's completely fine if you do. And also she's pretty insufferable, yeah. Yeah, she's unbelievable. That's completely right. So yeah, so far after 10 chapters, not that impressed. I wouldn't recommend this, to be honest. Art's not that good. Story is kind of abysmal. The characters are pretty abysmal. The only interesting thing, and the pacing is also pretty awful. The only thing I would say, if you're interested in the slightest, is just looking up what the powers are and what they do. As that, it's pretty much the only interesting thing in this series. So I'd probably give it like a, so far, like first thoughts, like a 5 or 6 out of 10. Yeah, it's pretty harsh, but honestly, Undead Unluck is, like, I've gotten into Undead Unluck last year. I know that I dropped it with my reviews around chapter 4, but I've picked it up since then a couple weeks back, and I've been having way more fun with that than this. Um, yeah, those are my thoughts. Candy Flurry, not that it's like not that sweet. If you have a sweet tooth, go ahead and try it. If you don't, avoid it. It's not that it tries to be sweet, but it's not really. Those are my thoughts and impressions on Candy Flurry, this new series on Shonen Jump. If you liked what you heard and you saw, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. If you didn't like it, go ahead and dislike. Any feedback, if you've read this, tell me in the comments what you thought about it. And I'll be doing another impression shortly after this one about a new series that just dropped today, June 27th, called The Hunter's Guild Red Hood. Now, this one is actually far more interesting, and I'm going to have far more positive things to say about it. So that's it. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.